you hear me now? Yes. All right. I want to welcome everybody to, I think, the fourth Candidates Forum that our Chamber of Commerce here has sponsored, and we're so glad you're here. I want to do a couple of introductions before we get started. I want to also thank the Wyndham for offering space for, to host our event here tonight. So thank you very much. And Chris Hamilton, I thank you for helping arrange this. I'm Vicki Waters, and I have a business here in Port Wentworth. I have a Edward Jones financial investments business here in Port Wentworth. I've been here 11 years, and I've seen a lot of changes here, and I am part of the Chamber of Commerce. And tonight, I want to recognize some of the people that have helped put this Candidates Forum on. We have our board members here that have worked very hard to prepare for tonight. And I want to recognize Chris Hamilton, who's our chairperson, and Chris works with the hotels here at Exit 109. Go ahead, stand, Chris. And I also want to thank CJ CJ is going to be our timekeeper this evening, and he's going to keep us on track so that we're going to cover a lot of ground here tonight. He's going to keep us on track so everybody has a chance to answer the questions that have been pre-submitted. Also want to recognize Donna Latham, and where's Donna? There's Donna, okay. So Donna's helping CJ keep the time, just keep him on track there. I don't see Rosetta Franklin, but she's also part of our board, and I thank you all for helping us this evening. I also want to recognize Dale Montgomery. Pastor Dale is with, and make sure I say this right, New River Baptist Church?
Savannah River.
Savannah River Baptist Church, thank you. So Pastor Dale has helped us vet the questions. Before this evening, we had a link on the website, on our chamber website, where citizens could input and contribute questions to us. So Dale has helped us go through those questions and format them for this evening. We had 81 questions. So we had an amazing amount of questions on different subjects and topics. So anyway, we love the input that we got from citizens. So I'm going to ask Dale to bless our event this evening.
Would you join with me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the city of Port Wentworth. We thank you, Lord, for the exciting things, exciting future that we have here. And we pray that everything that's done here tonight would be honoring to you first and foremost, and that it would be done decently and in order. And we pray, Lord, that you would give each of the candidates clarity to answer questions and to be able to articulate their vision for this community. We thank you, Lord, so much for the wonderful gift of freedom that we have, and we thank you for the brave men and women in our past as well as our present who have served our country and have given themselves, and we thank you for their sacrifice. And may we make wise decisions concerning our future in light of the sacrifices that have been made to bring us to this point. May your name be exalted today. We thank you, Lord Jesus, so much for your goodness to us, and we pray for your blessing upon this event. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen.
I'd like to ask Tricia Grow to step forward. Tricia's going to be sort of giving us the landscape of how this is going to happen tonight, and we've got some rules so that she can make sure we all follow the rules here. Tricia, would you like to join us? Sure.
Hi, my name is Tricia Grow, and I am the president of the chamber. Thank you to everyone that came out tonight, and especially thank you to our candidates. Thank you so much for coming out and participating this evening. What we wanted to do is just kind of give you a little overview of what we received, and Vicki highlighted this. We had 81 questions total, and they were in every category. So it was great to see that we have so many people that live here that are really actively involved in wanting to be a part of the future of this community. So out of the questions, we had some qualifying. 100% of the people that submitted questions were residents. Of those residents, 38% were business owners and 62% were not. Out of that, 90% of the people said they would attend this evening and 10% said no. And then also out of that, we asked, have you ever voted in a Port Wentworth election? Out of that, 81% of the people that participated in the questions did participate in a previous election by voting, and 19% said no. So at about 19% first-time voters here in Port Wentworth. Overview, the topics that were included: city services, transportation and logistics, public safety and fire, economic development and new business recruitment, sports and recreation, general topic, and then specific for each district. District 2, District 4, and at large. So all of those were compiled, and we have our panel that went through and screened for appropriateness and relevancy. And tonight, how that's going to work out, our panel is going to start and do a 3-minute introduction, and then we're going to go through the rounds of questions, and they have 2 minutes to answer each question. The first round of questions is going to be applicable to the entire table, and then the second and third rounds will be specific questions to each district. Then we're going to close with the fourth question to all panels up here, and then closing statements, 3 minutes. So with that, I would love to introduce to you a wonderful lady who has worked at WTOC for a long time and who I had the pleasure to work with years ago. And she is an amazing woman, and she's going to do a great job for us here this evening. That is WTOC's Dawn Baker. Can you please help me?
Thank you all so much for your warm welcome, and I just want to give an applause to all of you for being here this evening. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah. We're about to witness history this evening here in Port Wentworth, and I think that it's really awesome to see so many people getting truly involved in the election process. I think, honestly, for far too long, all of us are guilty of either voting along party lines or following family and friends without really doing our homework, and I think this is a very big step in being an educated voter, which is so what we need this day and time. So thank you again for being here. Before we move into our introductions, I want to remind you again that each candidate will be given a 3-minute opening comment. Then each question that they answer, they will be given 2 minutes to answer those questions. And at the end, they'll be given 3 minutes for the closing statements. And I also want to acknowledge again our wonderful timekeeper, Mr. C.J. Neesmith, right over here. So as you all are answering, I know over here it's going to be kind of hard for you to see him, but he's going to give some cues. So maybe what you might want to say is 30, because over here they can't see you over the podium. So CJ, at about 20 seconds left, what will you do? Okay, you're going to have to do it really high because these fellas over here may not be able to see you. Okay.
I'm doing it for you.
Okay, so then I'll do this. So just keep an eye on me and I'll help you. So at 10 seconds, what will we do? We're going to do this, 10 seconds. And then when your time is up, here you go, time is up. And if you hear that gavel, you are really in trouble. That means all of your time is up, okay? I would like to, we know that when you came in, you got a beautiful piece of, couple pieces of paper with all the candidates' names, their pictures, and their bios. So we're not going to be redundant and go over all of that. But as we know, we have three races that we're dealing with tonight: the Alderman at Large post, District 2, and District 4. So without further delay, I'm going to ask Ms. Tricia to give me the results of the order that they will answer the questions, because there was a coin toss before we started. So this determined the order. So this is District 2.
Yep, and I will put it on all the first order. Yep.
Okay, and this is at large.
Yep. And I'll do these on each one, so you know, and I'll put in the order fast.
Okay, all right. And we also want to acknowledge that in District 4, Mr. Glenn Pig Jones did not respond, so he's not here tonight. So this fellow right here will become the default winner because he has no competition tonight. Okay, so as you you know, these questions have been carefully screened, so please don't get angry at me. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just the messenger. Our first question to all of our candidates tonight: Port Wentworth is attracting new residents, but not many new businesses. What would you do to bring a new retail stores, restaurants, and other professional services to the area? Many of us are tired of driving to other cities to shop, go to the doctor, and eat. We'll begin with District 2.
3-minute intros.
I'm sorry, I'm all excited. Okay, let's begin with our opening statements. We'll begin with District 2 with Scott Norman, followed by Mark Stevens.
Thank you very much. I'll try to go over my visions for the city as quick as I can. One of the biggest complaints I have in my area is about traffic. We need several roads widened for turn lanes and better timing of traffic lights to help alleviate traffic in high flow areas, namely Highway 21 and I-95, and for Highway 21 and Highway 30. Next, of course, for our district is garbage. Our services have decreased, and for months we have continuously had missed pickups and had cans damaged. And while it is improving, we need quality to be the primary factor, not price. The third is drainage. It is an ongoing problem with overgrown ditches, and an increased population density in certain areas are beginning to strain our pumping capacity during heavy rains. 4, Public Works needs an increase in budget to better maintain our streets and roads, and several existing roads need restriping and widening, as was recently done on Monteith Road. I'm also a strong supporter of our law enforcement and firefighters, and we need more of each. Our ratio of citizens to law enforcement and firefighters needs to increase, especially with our increase in population over the last few years. In the last 5 years, we had an increase of 2,005 citizens, according to Port Wentworth City's website. That's roughly 18%. The next 5 years, what will that bring with community growth expected? Last time this issue was addressed, it was voted down due to budget, from what I was told by several council members. Now, I'm running to bring unity, ethics, and controlled growth back to this city. I have freely given my time to my communities for years and wish to continue by being elected as your next city councilman for District 2nd on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mark Stevens.
Good evening. My name is Mark Stevens, and I am running for re-election to the Port Wentworth City Council, representing District 2. I'm an information security engineer for a global aerospace company. In my relatively short time on the council, we've achieved a great many things, such as voting to move City Hall to the north side of town while still maintaining the services for downtown. Voting to provide a healthcare plan that both raises the benefits for city employees and their families while lowering costs. Voting to lower city property taxes for everyone. Reviewing the contract of a vendor and discovering that the city had not received a performance bond from that vendor. This discovery led me to request that all contracts be reviewed for compliance. And leading the drive to have all meetings live streamed for everyone to view over the internet for the new City Hall council chambers when the meetings are finally brought over there. These examples underscore my core values of transparency, integrity, accessibility, and inclusiveness. Some of the other ways I've displayed these core values have been by going door to door and asking voters, how would you make the city better? By releasing my campaign documentation on my website for everyone to view. It's out there right now. By keeping my promise to serve you with the utmost integrity when I took the oath of office, and by being innovative enough by using my councilman's salary to largely fund this re-election campaign. Effectively, this action has made me a publicly funded candidate. On this journey, I've had the opportunity to meet and to talk with citizens to help make their lives better through use of city services such as addressing high speeders in my subdivision by putting a speed bump on Sandy Plains Way and to slow them down, and having signs posted on Lakeshore Boulevard to warn drivers that a special needs child was at play. Meeting with community members on a Friday evening to address the issue of commercial trucks from the ports on Pleasant Drive. This led to signs being placed banning those trucks from using Pleasant Drive and earning thanks from the constituents at a council meeting. And I met with community members to discuss the pros of Henley Drive rezoning.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge that Mr. Stevens is the incumbent in District 2 as well. Now we go to District 4 with our incumbent, Mr. Bill Herring.
Thank you, dear. I have been on city council since the year 2000. They now call me the old man. And you know, I kind of take it as well, sometimes I think it's a blessing, and then sometimes I think they're making fun. But much has happened since I have been on council, since the year 2000. I first came on council as a dare, and by the grace of God, I won, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I have got to meet people, and people have given me the ideas of things that we needed to do to the city. At that time, I represented the entire city. We were no longer in districts, and they wanted to grow. And so we grew, and we're still growing, and we're still going to bring more jobs to this area. I am excited about the development on 21. Yes, the traffic is heavy, but the problem we're having there is this. We need to be talking with GDOT about this. They are the ones that are concerned, and when they say no, nothing will happen. The port has brought in gracious jobs for our citizens, but we're needing to keep our people here and not have them to move into Pooler or any other area in Lemus. We need to work with the downtown area, that we'll be speaking about this a little bit later. But I would love to see new families with children, put them in our schools. We have a lovely school up here. We do not realize or understand or know what's going to happen to the old elementary school we have downtown in Fort Wentworth. But I'm hoping maybe that the city can buy this and use it for the city purposes and draw in younger families, growing families, and that we can do some things for our elderly. We kind of sidestep this because we don't want to realize that we're getting old. Well, folks, it's going to happen whether we realize it or not. How well do I know? The traffic, as Scott mentioned a while ago, is horrendous. I report, they can go back and say GDOT. You haven't seen anything yet, ladies and gentlemen. You wait until they put the cul-de-sac on Highway 30, and then you only have one way getting to Highway 21. This is going to be an abomination in itself. But together we will get through it. We will work these problems out. And this is one of the better things of Fort Wentworth. We're willing to work together.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll move on to the alternate large race and begin with our incumbent, Mr. Thomas Marby.
Just a little bit, kind of tall, guy, 6'3". Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thomas Barbie, and I'm running for, actually get reelected for my job, but I'm already been doing it. Fort Wentworth is my passion. I've served 21 years in the United States Air Force, and the experience that I've had in the Air Force in serving has given me the inspiration to serve my community, and I have been serving my community. It's been a pleasure and an honor serving for 4 years. Within that 4 years, me and my colleagues have made great strides in moving Port Wentworth forward. Granted, there are a lot of issues that we are still working on, and as a team, we're working on them together to move Port Wentworth forward. I serve in a lot of positions. I serve in all levels. I meet a lot of different citizens. I'm on the Rice Creek School Board. I'm the chairman of the one of the Rice Creek Community Watch programs. I'm the chairman on the Wastewater Treatment Plant Committee. I'm also the vice chairman for the Port Wentworth Police Department. I'm also the chairman of the Community Watch program in Rice Creek. I serve a lot. Service is what I do. It's my job. I love serving, and I'm ready to serve again for the next 4 years. And with your help, we can continue moving Port Wentworth forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on to Mr. Doyle Maldonado.
Thank you. So you said right. Yes. You're probably wondering, who is this guy? Where's he coming from? Well, I am originally from Puerto Rico, and I've been at Port Wentworth for 15 years. Before that, I was in Savannah in the South Side. I am retired Air Force by way of Army active duty, Air Force National Guard, 165th, and then I had to go to a desert for a little bit, and that, according to the military, qualifies me as a retired Air Force. That's 26 and a half years, dedication. Then in the middle of that, I am retired Food and Drug Administration, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA. I started with the FDA as a consumer safety technician in 1985. 8 months later, I was a consumer safety inspector when they took the position and made it full time. After that, I continued on, and 33 years later, I retired senior import specialist, taking care of all the goods coming in out of the ports, inspecting them, collecting samples, sending them to the lab, doing investigations, food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices. But that's not important right now because that's the past. One thing that I remember, there was an accident, there was a tragic accident in 21. My Air Force friends, my brothers, died. A year later, there was a monument or a little plaque put over there by the citizens and the members of Port Wentworth. That touched me. From that point, I said, you know what? There's me, my wife, my hobbies. That don't mean nothing. So I decided that I was going to run for city council, for a seat on the city council. That way, if anybody have a problem, I'm open. I'm in the corner in Newport. A lot of times I'm tinkering with my cars, and people stop, and I'll ask them. They ask me, what are you going to do? Well, since I'm new at this, what I intend to do is, I'm going to try to see if we can bring more business via restaurants. We are the first step. I mean, 95 comes to us and they see Port Wentworth, so we got to put something that said, come on over, we got some for you, we got some good restaurants. The idea would be, a lot of these restaurants have food trucks. You invite them for a little gathering behind the city hall. And if they see that it's convenient for them to make money, then we'll be good to go. Oh, sorry about that, but I will finish at the other end. Anyway, my name is Doyle Maldonado, and I would like to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And our last opening statement will come from Mr. Randall Matthews.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Randall Matthews. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone here for coming out tonight. It is very important to stay informed with what's going on with our community, so I appreciate all your time for being here. First off, I want to give you a little bit of background on myself. I'm a Marine Corps infantry combat veteran, served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, spent over 2 years fighting overseas. After I got out of the military, I went on to pursue a career in public service. I have studied for emergency management. I am a graduate of Savannah State University. After that, I got a job at Chatham Emergency Management Agency. I've been working with SEMA for the last 5 years. Over the course of that time, I have spent several years refining my skills in planning specifically. I look at how things are impacted on a long-term basis and how actions in one area can impact another area of a community. So that is what I do for a living. I look at how things can impact one another. And as I look at Port Wentworth, I see some troubling signs, specifically with sustainable development. We are growing rapidly, and we need to make sure we have government that can keep up with it. That way we don't have services falling by the wayside. So it's important that we address these issues before they become major issues. Also, working with SEMA, I am a leader in the Emergency Operations Center. I have coordinated multi-jurisdictional responses for several major events, such as Hurricane Matthew, Hurricane Irma, and most recently here with Hurricane Dorian. I work with all jurisdictions across Chatham County on a daily basis to make sure everyone's informed, engaged for preparedness, response, and recovery efforts. I work diligently to make sure that these communities have all the tools and resources that they need to be successful and put less of a burden on the community themselves. I'm also working on my master's in public administration. I believe it's important to continue your education, and I've devoted my life towards public service. For the last almost 15 years now, my focus has been on nothing but serving my country and my community. And I look forward to doing that in the same capacity here in Port Wentworth as a city councilman. And I look forward to talking to you more about my platform on sustainable development, on public safety, and I'm open for any questions you guys have. If you want to meet me afterwards, want to talk about anything, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So it seems as if we have an outstanding group of candidates, don't we? We're going to move into our question portion of the program, and want to remind our candidates, which they know these rules, that you will not have access to anyone who can help you, and that the candidates shall not interrupt one another, and I will have to enforce that rule if you do. And in our closing statements, so once we get there, please remember you shall not include any charges or attacks against another candidate that has not been previously raised during this forum. So we'll move to question number 1, which will sound very familiar to everyone because I accidentally read it a little while ago. This is to all of our candidates. We'll begin with Mr. Norman and come straight on, I think it's straight down the aisle. This comes to everyone. Port Wentworth is attracting new residents, but not many new businesses. What would you do to bring in new retail shops, restaurants, and other professional services? Many of us are tired of driving to other cities to shop, go to the doctor, and eat. And you have 2 minutes to answer these questions.
Well, mine will be a little bit quicker. I just decided to start running back in August, so I don't have too much of this information available that I haven't got off the city's website. I know after going to several city council meetings that we need a new comprehensive plan for the city. We have warehouses that are wanting to be built that we have to find a place for them. Other businesses that have to be, want to come in, have to be zoned for it with the areas. And I mean, basically we need more help from the planning commission to get a bunch of these taken care of, so the cities that want to come in know that we actually have property for them and a place for them to come to. So once we get that out of the way, get the new city comprehensive plan out of the way, we can focus more on it. That's basically all I have to say on it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Actually, what we need to do in order to attract more businesses is to work with the professionals from the chamber. The city and the chamber have to work together. I mean, not at cross purposes anymore. And I mean, when you do that, you can use the chamber as your tip of the spear to attract these new businesses to come. And also, you need to work with developmental services. You know, so the chamber, the developmental services, and the city working together, we can take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herron?
Mark, bless you, you stole my answer there, but I will agree with you. The city and the chamber does need to work together. We need the chamber to seek out businesses that will come. But I stand before you tonight to let you know that businesses are coming. Contracts have been signed. And there's one area that will be opening 300 jobs. And a little bit later, they will be adding up to 1,000 jobs. So where are we going to put these people? I'm very excited about this. And with the development of 21, with the truck stops there on 21 that's being run by Mr. Sean, I'm excited about what's happening there. We understand there are restaurants coming in. We don't know what they will be. I know what I hope one will be, but we have to build places for our people to stay. And we also need to clean up this city and work with the wastewater management, not wastewater management, but the trash people, public works. We need to get this taken care of, and we need more employees in this area. This is for the entire city. This is not only for my district, but we need capable people and people who will not throw down trash cans and tear them up. And we also need people in this city not to throw their garbage out, or their couches, or their chairs, or their stoves, even commodes out in the street or on the curbs before they come back by. I mean, this is ridiculous. We've got to educate ourselves, people. We're human beings. We don't keep trash back and then all of a sudden after the trash truck goes by, we decide to set it out. No. Let's realize and see what we're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. With the at-large race, we'll begin with Mr. Randall Matthews, followed by Mr. Doyle Maldonado and Mr. Thomas Barney.
I think we need to work together, as was previously mentioned. Working with the chamber is incredibly important. We need to have a collaborative approach. We need to have the city and the chamber working together. I'd also be interested in working with surrounding cities and see what they're doing, getting their input, learning from them. If you look at some of the growth that we've seen in the Cooler area, they have all sorts of traffic issues and things like that because they did not have a plan as to how they develop. And that's what we really need to look at as a community, is how we are going to develop. Scott was talking a little bit about the comprehensive plan. That was updated in 2016. If you look at some of the numbers on that, there's only about 230 people that was part of Port Wentworth that participated and gave that input. And that's alarming for me, because this is the plan that shows how we as a community are going to develop for the next 20 years. And yet we have less than 3% of the population giving their ideas as to how this community is going to develop. So we need to work together as a whole community and figure out where we want to go and make sure we can get there together. I'm also concerned about some of the development that has been proposed for the Monteith and Minehart area. We need to make sure that development is consistent with that comprehensive plan. So as we work together, we can move forward together.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you. Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question?
Port Wentworth is attracting new residents, but not many new businesses. What would you do to bring in new retail shops, restaurants, and other professional services? Many of us are tired of driving to other cities to shop, to go to the doctor, and eat.
Okay, exactly. Pooler, even Rincon is ahead of us and all that. What happened here is, apparently there is in place land, there is in play a combination of people talking to get the business in. But the idea is to actually invite the business in. I only think that the best idea is to have a food truck and a little bit of music, and they always remember that. We'll taste their food, and if we don't like it, they won't come. But there's a lot of restaurants that have this capability. Once in a while, for the community, a little gathering. Everybody get together, have something to eat, and then based on that, we can always decide and say, okay, well, this is very popular. Maybe that's a good idea there. The trash. I've been in the place for 15 years, and it's still the same. What I'm saying is, if we're going to have a contractor, make sure that he understands that if they're going to say that we're going to do it every Thursday, and and we're gonna pick up everything else on Wednesday, that they adhere to that contract. That's all we have to do. Make sure, even if we have to go behind them and emphasize that this contract is not forever, because it's going to change if you don't satisfy the community. We can invite a lot of families to come in with kids. Remember, with kids. With that said, a little YMCA, a place that the kids can actually do sports, not in the neighborhood that they have a basketball court right in the corner. We complain about that all the time, but we're not doing anything about it. I don't have any kids. I had kids, and I used to take them to a YMCA. I used to take them to a school, and they were doing sports, and they were happy because they had something to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Barbie.
We've heard a lot of our candidates speak about attracting businesses. One of the first things that I did when I was on council is the partnership with the chamber, because they are professionals that get paid to attract businesses to our city. Part of the chamber's job is to attract businesses to our city, along with developmental services. You have to depend on people and working together. You have to be able to work with people to solve issues, and we do have issues. But partnership with the chamber, like my colleague said, is vital because they get paid to attract businesses to our city, and we are growing. I'm excited about the growth. Who wants to drive the pool to go to a fancy restaurant when you could have one in Port Wentworth where we live? This is where I live. This is where I want to go to eat at a nice place or have a sports facility that I could go to, where my kids could go to. It needs to be here in Port Wentworth. We have the space, we have much land that we could build stuff on. But allowing the chamber to do what they do in our developmental services is important. And our comprehensive plan is being followed, but yes, it needs to be updated. Actually, comprehensive plan should be updated at least on a yearly, maybe about every 2-year basis. But it needs to be looked at constantly. That's what we do, sitting on council. We look at the big picture, also the little small pictures that make up that big picture. We gotta assess the growth patterns and make sure that the city services match the growth patterns that's happening, because we are growing as a city.
Thank you very much, sir. Our second question goes to the District 2 candidates. Begin with Mr. Scott, followed by Mr. Stevens. As a new homeowner in Port Wentworth, I chose to move to the city because of the growth I saw coming here. Where do you see the city in 10 years? Please describe in detail.
Well, I've been here 8.5 years, and the city's changed dramatically in that time. For someone new moving in, for the growth, that goes back to the original, or the first question for bringing in the jobs and the community here, and I don't really know what to say with that one. For new people coming in, we don't have as many jobs coming in outside of warehouses. The businesses we do have coming in are small, and we need more of them. The tax code or the commercial codes need brought back up, where they have commercial 1, 2, 3 for the cities, what they're zoned for, what people can come in for, what buildings can be built here, to know what they're here for. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Could you repeat the question, please?
As a new homeowner in Port Wentworth, I chose to move to the city because of the growth I saw coming here. Where do you see the city in 10 years? Please describe in detail.
In 10 years, I expect the city to transform into something that is not present today. But what we have to do is be able to research those patterns and anticipate where the growth is actually going to occur. And And when we do that, we also need to be able to allocate city services such as additional police, additional fire, fighters to anticipate that growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Our next question is for District 4, Mr. Aaron. The truck traffic on South Coastal Highway, State Route 25, is horrendous and very dangerous to citizens living in the area. The road is a state highway. What would you do to address this issue?
To help us with Highway 21, I would increase the lane usage. This would mean the buying of homes so that we could increase and move up to Rincon, or move the road further up so that we would not move to Rincon, please. I'm very pleased in Fort Wentworth. I bought my home here in '82, and it's for what I paid for it. You couldn't touch it. But anyhow, we have to develop our roads. They have to be developed. We have to work with GDOT. We have to get this done. Brunswick, and I believe from the Florida line on up to Savannah, we have already increased to 3 lanes. We need to do this from Highway 30 up. This will help alleviate a lot of problems. You have to remember now that Benton Boulevard is coming in, and this is going to have a big impact on us. We do not know what to expect there. This land was given to us by the county. We didn't even realize we had it. And then all of a sudden they decided to start developing the concept of coming across. So we're going to have to wait and see. We're getting ready to go through some changes, people. And I'll tell you, it may be and it may not be easy for most of us. You know what it was like when Keller Road was closed and you couldn't get to your homes and you would wait in traffic 45 minutes. I'll agree we need more police. I'll agree we need more emergency people. And we're trying to find rooms for these people. We're trying to find buildings to put them in. And we're looking at this.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll move to our alternate large race, beginning with Mr. Maldonado. How will you work with the residents and businesses in the downtown and North Fort Wentworth sections of the city to foster a common vision that works for the entire community?
Well, being new at this, I probably need to study this a little bit more. But in the meantime, I believe that the power of getting together and explaining to each other the benefits that the business is going to bring. I actually wanted to answer the question about the 10 years. How do I see Fort Wentworth in 10 years? But like everybody in this panel, everybody involved, more meetings about it, good planning, and then try to make sure that the plan is being executed. It is hard for me to understand the question, and it's hard for me to picture the people that I'll be working with, because I have never done it. But I figure people together, bringing up the ideas, and then executing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barbie. Would you pass that microphone to him, please, sir? Thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
How will you work with residents and businesses in the downtown and North Fort Wentworth sections of the city to foster a common vision that works for the entire community?
That's an easy question to answer because my unique team that I work with already, we're working with all citizens. We accept ideas from citizens and we move forward on those ideas. One of the biggest ideas that I take pride in is a sports complex that we purchased 55 acres of land and we're going to build a huge sports complex on it. I look forward to that shovel to ground project getting started. We're still accepting ideas from citizens as we speak now. I look forward to it because our citizens need places to go, a park that they can sit in and watch their kids play on the swing. Kids can play basketball, give them something to do instead of playing in the street all the time. Our citizens need restaurants to go to. I look forward to it, and the biggest thing is engaging citizens because we live in Port Wentworth. We shouldn't have to drive to Lincoln or drive to Pooler or drive to Savannah just to have a nice swing in a park or take our family to a family-style restaurant to eat. It should be right here in Port Wentworth. That money, the revenue is generated should stay within Port Wentworth. Continue to listen to ideas and implement those ideas.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Matthews?
I think working with all the citizens of Port Wentworth, getting their ideas, getting their input, and building that through that comprehensive plan is the key to development. Furthermore, if we have areas that are developing disproportionately, we can also look at doing tax incentives to bring in small businesses to areas that have not been receiving adequate growth. This could be particularly useful for downtown Port Wentworth, which has seen some stagnant growth over the past several years. So if we offered a small tax credit for small businesses to bring them into the area, this can help revitalize that part of the community. So if we work together and come up with the ideas of how we want to work, develop this community, and then come up with a plan together to bring these types of businesses that we want, whether it's offering credits for restaurants or other shops that we might want to have in this area, I think we can continue to experience growth and growth that will benefit all of Port Wentworth.
Thank you very much, sir. Our next question is for the same race. We'll begin with Mr. Barbie. Our comprehensive master plan is outdated. Will you push to revise the plan to include the city's current needs in 2019 regarding traffic, economic development, and land planning?
The short and sweet answer is yes, because we are growing and almost like, well, how are we gonna look in 10 years? Well, when I first moved to Port Wentworth, there was only 3,000 people. That was the population. I've been there for 8 years. In that 8-year span, we're up to 9,000 people now. And if you go on out, let's say, the 10 years, like the question was from the start, that's 15,000 people. That's a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. And our growth patterns have to be met by city services. So yes.
Mr. Matthews next.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Our comprehensive master plan is outdated. Will you push to revise the plan to include the city's current needs in 2019 regarding traffic, economic development, and land planning?
Absolutely. There are several different programs out there that we can use to leverage the growth of the community. Specifically, if you look at the last 4 years, there was over $665 million in hazard mitigation funds to do things like improve infrastructure. As an example of that, Port Wentworth has not applied for a single dollar of that. This is part of my daily responsibilities, is to look at this type of money, these different grants, and we can utilize that. Imagine if we had some more of that money in our pockets so we could increase our city services. We could get more firefighters. We could rebuild our roads. We could repair our infrastructure, and we could move forward. But instead of doing the same old thing, we need to have fresh ideas with fresh people in council to get this done. Also, our ISO rating for the fire department is a level 5 right now. Savannah is a level 1, which is the top tier you can get. What does that mean for you? That means we all have to pay more money as homeowners due to fire insurance. We need to make sure we have infrastructure that can keep up with that. And guess what? There's grants out there that can help get that done, but we need people in place to get this done. Also, Port Wentworth is the only community within Chatham County that is not participating in FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program. Again, that means more money out of every homeowner's pocket because of poor planning within the government. So if we can work together, have fresh ideas, we can leverage these different grants out here, we can move forward, we can build better, we can have more staff to get things done, and we can get it done faster.
Thank you very much. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you. I've been in Port Wentworth 15 years, close to 16 years, and there was nothing. Right now, I saw what they built under the bridge on 95. that is a success story right there. And I also saw the diversion of trucks to the opposite side of 21. To me, that was a good idea, and it's continued to be a good idea. He mentioned, gentleman, what's your name? Randall. Randall here mentioned fire equipment or fire trucks or something like that. Well, a friend of mine gave me the idea that we need in Port Wentworth a ladder truck, because we have all these multi-floor buildings. So therefore, that should be one of the priorities. The roads, we can live with the roads. Trucks coming in and out, that's business, and that is good business. We'll take care of that. We need to take care of like stuff for the kids, sports complex, a fire truck, a ladder truck, that is, because a lot of the neighborhoods have 3 levels. And if something happened, hopefully not, we will not be prepared for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next question goes to our solo candidate here for District 4, Mr. Herron. What is your plan to ensure that the city's contractors meet their obligations as outlined in their contracts? For example, Republic Waste has repeatedly violated the terms of their contract. This causes issues for residents. What will you do to hold them accountable?
This is truly a hard question because you trust people to live up to what they say they will do. We have since then, with Waste Management, we have issued contracts out, and I don't know how many we have received, but more than likely we will be changing vendors because of the poor service that we have received. As it was mentioned earlier a while ago, we never know what day they're going to pick up the garbage. We have no idea what day they're going to pick up the recycle. Sometimes they will come one day and pick up both. So we don't know what's going on, and I don't think they know what's going on. I mean, and it's a sad situation because we have a lot of people that are handicapped. We have a lot of people that are old, and they cannot get their garbage cans out. But thank God we do have a plan where we can let Waste Management know that they need to come into the yards and pick up the materials or the trash for the elderly as well as for the handicapped. And this is working quite well. But I hope that when we go with our new contract, there will be somebody that will live up to their contract, and as Mark mentioned a while ago, hold them to the line. Get the bond that we need from them. If they have a bond for the recycle, if they have a bond for the trash, hold it until it's been completed. Thank you.
Very much, sir. This next question is for District 2. As our representative in District 2, what is your stance on the building of warehouses along Monty, Minehard Road, and Henley Road and Benton Boulevard, which will increase truck traffic on our city streets? Let's begin with Mr. Scott Norman.
Thank you. As a citizen that lives down off of Minehard Road, this is on the personal side for me. We do not need any further warehouses on Monteith and Henley Road. It is a residential area. It's a 2-lane. It just got widened, and from what I understand from the Georgia Department of Transportation, it was not built to withstand tractor trailers. And for any vehicles leaving out of Henley Road onto Highway 21, if they have to turn right going up over an overpass from a dead stop, that creates a danger to oncoming traffic. I mean, there's no way for a fully loaded vehicle to take off and not cross traffic concerns. It goes back to the comprehensive plan again for what's best for the areas, warehouses, businesses, And being a purely residential area, there's very little benefit for a warehouse to be in that area, especially with the limitations for the entrance and exit onto Highway 21. And I personally would not recommend it for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Stevens?
Yes. In a word, no. Very simple. As Mr. Norman did allude to, the Highway 21 corridor is already compacted. We don't need to add more trucks to it. Also, when you rezone something like that to industrial, you have to take into account noise, traffic, dust, and increased truck traffic, and basically to do that to the people that have lived there since after the Civil War, it's not right. It's not right, and it shouldn't be done. There are other places to put warehouses where they should belong, in industrial areas, not off of Henley Road. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Our next question is to all of our candidates, and we'll begin with Mr. Matthews. How will you work with Georgia DOT to provide a plan to relieve the increasingly heavy traffic on the north side of Fort Wentworth?
That's a great question, and I work with GDOT on almost a daily basis with coordination efforts. However, I wish my personal relationships with some of these GDOT folks would get things done, but that's not the way government works, okay? We need to run things through the chain of command, and I know I wish I could go out there and get something done today, but that's something we have to work with. We have to work with the leaderships. We have to make sure we're getting these traffic studies done to show that this is an issue, and we need it getting fixed. We also need to leverage our state representatives as well. So solving these traffic issues is not just a Highway 21 or Highway 30 issue. If we add more lanes, yes, that will help for a short period of time, but there is growth happening in Port Wentworth, there's growth happening in Pooler, there's growth happening in Rankin. So we need to work together and come up with regional plans that will work for everybody. Also, I support widening the road infrastructure that we do have. So this will include city roads. I know living in the Rice Creek neighborhood that driving through those areas, there's kids playing, there's cars parked on both sides of the road, and it makes it very difficult to get a fire truck through there. So if I was elected to council, I would introduce an ordinance to widen the minimum width of new construction for roads. That way it's more of a forgiving roadway. So if a kid does pop out, you have a clearer vision, you can stop, you can avoid any sort of incidents that will happen like that, and it makes our communities a little bit better. I don't think we need to put lines down on all these roads and start issuing traffic tickets in our communities. We need to consider the quality of life for people living in these communities, and issuing tickets, parking tickets, is not the way to do that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Maldonado?
Okay, here we go. It's not, this is where I look at it. Trucks, business, money. We have to meet in the middle. We have to give some to get some. So therefore, I am not an expert in roads, so I don't know where we could go. But I'll say that if you have a lot of traffic going through a road, find an alternate route and a bridge over it. And that will probably satisfy everybody. You need to go to the port to get your business done, yes. If we are against that, then we're gonna be passed over. We're gonna be left poor in the background. We need to get with the business and find a way in the middle. I help you, and then you can go through, and we all get paid. Thank you.
Mr. Barbie?
Georgia Department of Transportation has a huge undertaking of all these U.S. highways within the state of Georgia. Georgia's a pretty big state, the 5th largest growing state of population, I would probably say, in the world. Because if you look at Pooler, when I first moved here, Pooler was so small. Now they're up to 25,000 people, and they got I don't have to tell you that. They got all types of businesses all over the place. But one thing they're not building is new roads. The Benton Boulevard is going to be a great advocate to alleviate a lot of traffic. My push, the idea that I brought up a while back, is partnershiping with the Georgia Department of Transportation and widening Highway 21 from a 4-lane to a 6-lane. It takes a long time for government to do work, but as a city, we could recommend to the state to undertake these projects, and we have to listen to the traffic patterns when they come up with them, because they do studies, they're professionals, they've been doing it for years. But the city cannot dictate to a state on what they want to do, but we can recommend as a city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Norman, same question.
Could you repeat it, please?
How will you work with Georgia DOT to provide a plan to relieve the increasingly heavy traffic on the north side of Port Wentworth?
The main, for Georgia Department of Transportation, the main problem we have or the bottleneck for Highway 21 is at the overpass right beside Henley Road and the Station 2 for the fire department. It bottlenecks with the 4 lanes right there, all the traffic lights side by side, and it just stovepipes up. We have emergencies, fire department, police department cannot get through there in any reasonable amount of time. To be able to increase the flow of traffic, as Mr. Barbie stated, would go from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, would require Georgia Department of Transportation to actually rebuild the overpass on Highway 21 to make it 6 lanes. And that would be quite labor intensive. I've proposed this same idea several times over the years to City Council, and only other option that I've been given that was viable was to remove the emergency lanes or each side and make it 3 lanes. But if you do that, you're not going to have the ability to move emergency equipment through there with congestion. It is a very labor-intensive part to do it, but I do believe the bottleneck is that bridge. If we can make that 6-lane, take it all the way up through I-95 and at the up to Highway 30, it would alleviate a good portion of the traffic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
I'll make this brief. I concur with what Mr. Barbie said. Thank you.
Would you like to remind us briefly what he said? It's been so long. I mean, it's been a long time since he spoke, so just a little bit.
In that we have to work and maintain our relationships with GDOT.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herron?
Sure, we have to maintain our efforts with GDOT, but if you will notice and look at Georgia Ports, what they have done, they have built an overpass for their trains to cross Highway 17, or the old 25. We could do the same thing there at Henley Road and build a flyover for 95 to get rid of some of these trucks and to move them on. This has been a big holdup, and I think it would work. I do believe there is a map doing something like this, a figure 8 or a 4-leaf clover, whatever what the case may be, but I do believe this would alleviate the problem. With Benton Boulevard coming in, you're going to be pulling in more traffic onto highway, not off of Highway 30. It's going to help it, but you're going to be pulling it on Manhart and up to Henley Road. This is where the problem's going to become. I think if we could synchronize the red lights or the traffic lights, this would help tremendously. And if people would just be careful in watching what they're doing, because it really is rough between 3:30 and 6, or maybe 6:30 and 7. I never realized until I was traveling up here that it would take me 45 minutes to an hour to get from downtown Fort Wentworth to up here to get some business conducted. And it's just horrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question goes to all of our candidates, and we'll begin with Mr. Stevens answering this one. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I think that's a pretty easy question. I'm assuming this is tax-free, right?
Take it any way you like.
Well, I would use it for public safety and to work to address the traffic situation, especially around Highway 21 and Highway 30. Next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Norman.
$1 million tax-free from the federal government to be able to improve. Well, it would go back to the previous statement too, to increase traffic flow on Highway 21. The city of Port Wentworth is in the process of getting eSPLOST funds that have earmarks for the city police department and fire department already, and for several other community projects. So with that, I would put it for the most pressing need first, and that would be increasing the amount of traffic flow, or the amount of traffic that the Highway 21 could handle, starting with the bridge. We could make that from the fire department, the 6 lanes, all the way over with the flyover, or even a cut through with anything else. It would alleviate the majority of the problems and make a lot of people's lives a lot easier and take away a lot of people's problems with the 45-minute wait. When I started here 8.5 years ago living here, we could come through there in 10 minutes or less. Those days are gone. They're not coming back until something is done with widening that road.
Thank you very much. Mr. Herron, same question.
Would you repeat it, please?
If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
The $1 million grant sounds wonderful. We were fortunate enough to finish paving, or to pave the last road in Port Wentworth, Phillips Avenue, that has not been paved since it was built. That ran us a little over $3 million. We have upkeep, ladies and gentlemen. Things last not as long as they used to. So I would definitely say, let's put some of this money to the back and save it for our road, for our structures of the road, and to try to keep them in workable conditions. Now, as it stands, I have streets in Port Wentworth downtown that have potholes in them that needs to be corrected. This does not come cheap. Regardless what you put there, you have to pay for it. And when they know they're coming to the city to get the money, let me tell you what, the prices escalate. They will do everything they can to rob Peter to pay Paul, and they look to the city for the benefits. This is not right. They need to treat us just like they would be treating each individual for what's going on in their own home. Keep it at a minimum if we could possibly do this. I would also like to set aside some money for the sports complex, which we've talked very little about. And I think this would be a good thing too. I believe this is on the SPLOST calendar for this year. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barbie, same question. If you receive $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
$1 million. Ooh, that's a lot of money. But you can't go wrong with public safety. You can't go wrong with public safety. One of the ideas that I brought up to the mayor when I first got elected was that we need to build a satellite police and fire department on the north end of town. The city owns approximately about 40 different properties located throughout Port Wentworth, but one of the properties is a 9-acre tract of land right next to Richmond Baptist Church, where we have our water tower. That would be a perfect spot for a satellite police and fire department. And what they would do for the city, not only to make them feel more safer, but it was police response would be a lot quicker. They don't have to worry about being stuck in traffic. I don't know if you've ever been stuck in traffic and the police is trying to get from the south end to the north end of town. We wouldn't have to worry about that anymore because they'll already be here. And the fire department, if we had a fire department, it would increase our ISO level, which would save each citizen some money whenever they apply for their insurance. If we had it all right there, it's 9 acres of land, we could use that $1 million to improve public safety, which will improve the quality of life for our citizens. And I would like to set aside a little bit, since we got December coming up, we got a lot of employees that do a great job. They need to have a big fat bonus check, just a little bit, all of them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you. $1 million. You can buy a Cobra Jet Mustang for that amount of money and on an auction. That's not a lot of money, folks. But if I was given $1 million to do, say, please for the community, probably a few dollars to fix that hole right on the side of the city hall by CBS. It's full of water all the time, folks. Some of the money that I mean for the sports complex. Police, have you been in a situation where the neighbor have a problem and everybody shows up? That's a lot of police, fire, EMS, everybody's there. So really, they're good to go. They're good to go. So what I'm saying is, $1 million, let's use it for the benefits of our kids. Let's look at the futures of our kids. Other than that, let's just continue wishing that we have a lot more money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Matthews?
Well, you're right, $1 million doesn't get what it used to. I wish I could. I don't think it can build a brand new fire station, police station, hire new people, get new patrol cars, and then give a Christmas bonus. There's just not enough money out of that, okay? But what we could do is leverage that money using those hazard mitigation funds that are available, that $665 million I was talking about before. Part of those requirements are for a 15% match. So we could take that $1 million and stretch that money and apply for these grants and make that $1 million much, much more. That way we can do much, much more with that money. We can improve infrastructure, not just in one area, in all of Port Wentworth. We need to have these fresh ideas and move forward to improve all of our city.
How to move forward. Let's begin with Mr. Herron.
At one of the meetings the city council had, it was open to the public. We had Georgia Ports to come over and speak with the people in the meeting. We had a lot of citizens there and it was fantastic. The comment was made by one of the gentlemen from the Georgia Ports that I would like to speak with any of the representatives from the city. Now this was before Mayor Norton's time. One of the ladies that was on the planning commission gave me the information. I said, all right, I will take care of the information. I will send it forward to the city administrator and to the mayor. I talked with the mayor about the information that I received, and I was promptly told, I will take care of this and we will call a meeting. We never had the meeting. We have to be willing to work with people. It is most important, ladies and gentlemen, that you come to council and voice your concern and let us know what you're concerned about, what will help life be easier for you. We do not know We meet monthly. Sometimes we will meet 2 or 3 times a month just to go over ordinances that we need to go through and correct and do this. But we need your input. I hate to say this, but we're all to blame. We need to come together as a group and say, we want to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Yes. Could you repeat the question, please?
What is your plan to mend the relationship with Georgia Ports Authority? Other cities like Garden City have a great working relationship with them. Please share your thoughts on how to move forward.
Well, we have to work with the ports. I mean, they're right next door to us. It's not like it's no rocket science. And I know that, basically when you don't work with people, they'll find a way to do, what they need to do, and they'll pass you by. Time has a way of doing that. So if that means, one of us has to, go to the ports and have a sit down, let's do that. There's nothing to be, there's literally nothing to be, wasted by sitting down and talking with them. I would love to be able to, go to the ports and have a sit down and say, hey, how you doing today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Norman?
I'm going to honestly admit this was before my time. Obviously, as Mr. Herron explained, I'm not aware that there was a problem with the Georgia Ports Authority, but if there is, then I would go along with Mr. Stevens' statement, call them up, tell them that, invite them to either come to us, we can come to them, sit down, and actually discuss what's going on, what needs to be done to make it better, find out what the problem is that we can make better, and start another round of talks. That's really the only way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Matthews, I'll begin with you, sir. Same question.
It is all about partnerships, working together, getting things done. If you look at it from the business perspective, they want to be more efficient. They want to get things done. And they can do that by working with the city, making sure they have the infrastructure that they need, and we can understand what their needs are. And by working together, we can have a collaborative approach to see how it can benefit all of us together. With the improvements that the port has been making, there's mentioned about the flyover for the trains. We need to see other areas that the ports may need to have flyovers so we can alleviate some of that truck traffic. And none of that can happen unless we work together as a team. And believe me, Georgia ports, they bring a lot of money to this region. They are willing to invest. The ports are doing more and more business every single year. It would behoove us to work with them to make sure we can all keep on mutually benefiting from this.
Thank you. Mr. Maldonado?
Oh, well, you have touched a subject here that is actually real close to me. Food and Drug Administration and Customs, we work together at the ports. Senior import specialists, we spend many hours in meetings with the GPA officials, and they want to know from us, what can we do? What can we do for you so you can inspect our cargo and we can move it out right away? Because that's money. Every second counts. They will put an inspection station for FDA alongside Customs. On the meetings, everybody's represented. But if we Port Wentworth, I don't recall anybody from Port Wentworth being out there and getting a chance to talk about our needs. So if we represent Port Wentworth at the port, if we get on their mailing list and get there every 45 days, there's a little magazine that they put out with their growth and all the good stuff and all the new business they bring in from overseas. It's all there. We actually, when we go to the meeting and we see what they have on the table, we want some of that. So that way, what I'm saying is, we need to go to their meetings, find somebody at Port Wentworth that we can talk to and find out from them, hey, when is the next meeting? Send us an email, send us a letter, invite us. We'd like to be there. And to me, that's the key, to make the relationship with the GPA and to benefit from the GPA business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barbie?
To mend the relationship, first of all, there has to be some type of break. Whenever there's a break, you have to be willing to admit, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, forgive me. Partnership with whatever the Georgia Port Authority may have, but you have to be willing to put yourself in their shoes and say that I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Work with them, figure out what area you could do to improve things, and then move forward. As a city, I think that partnership with Georgia Port Authority is really smart because they generate a lot of revenue. They generate a lot of jobs. A lot of people that live in Port Wentworth work down in that port. They create great jobs. It's important to mend that relationship by going to them and talking to them, partnership with them.
Thank you very much. This next question goes to District 2, and we'll begin with Mr. Stevens. What do you think is the single most pressing issue facing Port Wentworth today?
The single most pressing issue facing Port Wentworth, traffic. It's one word. I mean, let's face it. I mean, when you drive on Highway 21, you don't know if you're going to be in a parking lot or if you're going to be able to move quickly. I mean, fortunately, as far as the diverging diamond is concerned, that has been a help. It has helped alleviate some of the problems, but I mean, some days it works, some days it doesn't. Also, the Benton Boulevard extension, when it's finally completed, that will help as well. But I mean, the bottom line is traffic. We have to do something about it. But the fact is that it is a state road, so we have to work with GDOT, and hopefully, GDOT will figure out the best way to move forward on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Norman?
This is a spider web we keep coming back on. And again, agree with them, as we've made in previous statements, that traffic is the #1 problem for Port Wentworth, or for our area in District 2. And again, with Benton Boulevard opens up, not only with Benton Boulevard open up to 30, but when it opens up with Effingham County, hopefully who'll get their funding replenished and make Benton Boulevard on time, it'll alleviate a very substantial part of the traffic off of 21. But that is still several months away, and until then, we are stuck with it, and that is it is literally the biggest issue for our district and District 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our at-large race. Begin with Mr. Maldonado. How do you feel about rezoning traditionally residential areas to allow warehousing and other industrial uses, specifically Monteith, Minehart, and Henley Road?
I'm not familiar with those neighborhoods. I'm not familiar with what is going on other than Highway 30.
Okay.
But if there was going to be any warehousing, I will be against that, because that's going to increase the truck traffic and all that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Matthews.
For that specific area, I would be against any sort of rezoning. This is a tight-knit community, and it doesn't make sense to have the government come in here, rezone the properties just to make a couple dollars. There's a bigger picture here. It's not all about making money and having the highest profit. It's about a community, and that's what we are, as a community. I think we've done a disservice to some of the markers, the historic markers in our area. If you look at the Mulberry Plantation, that area has just been paved over and put into warehouses. If you look at the same thing with Monteith Minehart, that was a Civil War battlefield. That is a historic area. And I think we should recognize the historic significance of this. You only have one chance to build Port Wentworth, and once we pave over it, it's gone.
Mr. Barbie?
I'm definitely against the warehouses. They have come before us quite a few times. Within the 4 years that I've been on council, each and every time we've voted no against it because it's a residential area, and like Randall said, the quality of life is better for the citizens. Shouldn't just be concerned about making money. Warehouses, there's places that they could put warehouses, but not on Monteith or Conley Road.
Thank you very much. Our next question for District 4, Mr. Herron. The City Council talked about a recreation facility in the past. Please elaborate on how we can better serve the citizens and children of Port Wentworth with the sports complex.
The sports complex would be fantastic. We would be able to offer programs for 4-year-olds and above. And this is very fantastic because we could get the leaders there to work with our kids and to train our kids and to build the morale and to boost them and to find our young men and women. But I want to mention to you that, excuse me, that we have 24 acres of land that has been donated to the park. I call it the park, to the back section of the police department next to our Freedom Field. And this would be a fantastic place to turn into a walking trail, a picnic area, and an exercise station. And this would be open, I wouldn't want to say 24 hours a day, but it would be well lighted, I'm sorry, thank you, for our people, so that they could go out at night and run and walk and talk. And I would like to get GDOT to move the Houlihan Bridge that they're going to be tearing down and move it over to this park so the kids can play in this. You remember when we were kids, we had monkey bars? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Let them climb all over these things and learn. Get a little bit of dirt on them, it will not hurt them. But we need to do this. And I feel like I'm getting off the question, but what is your question?
City Council talked about a recreation facility in the past.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We have a recreation, fantastic leader, Tiffany, that runs the recreation department. We need more. Oh, that's not right.
Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. You all have all done a wonderful job. We'll now move into our closing statements, and we will go in reverse order. So we'll begin with Mr. Matthews in the alternate large race. And you have 3 minutes for your closing.
All right, well, I thank y'all once again for coming out. I hope you guys got to learn a little bit more about what everyone was about. This is going to be a tight race with everybody, and I think having all that information really supports things. I really wish I got the question of what is the #1 issue for Port Wentworth, and I'll use my closing statement to wrap that up real quick. Our #1 issue is sustainable development, and that has many cascading effects, whether it's not having enough law enforcement, enough firefighters to protect our community, or the infrastructure such as roadways and plumbing and drainage to fix that thing. So we need to make sure we're looking towards the future. We can't be looking at just the now. I'm a younger guy, probably the youngest guy in this panel, and I'm trying to make sure we have a Port Wentworth that's sustainable for the future. Not just for now, not just for 5 years, but something that someone wants to live in this community, raise a family, and grow and live here for the next 50 years.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you. It's been a pleasure looking at all of you guys. I probably see you on the road, and now I can actually wave at you and say hello. Well, it's a personal agenda to me. to give back to Port Wentworth. Basically, that's what it is. Some of my friends, retirees, they ask me, can we move to Port Wentworth? What's going on over there? And I tell them, move to Port Wentworth, help us build Port Wentworth. And if we're gonna build a sports complex, we all gotta get together to monitor that, because that's not just build a complex and then, okay, self-managed. No, we all bring our kids there and watch them and help them. And those retirees like me, I'm always trying to sell Port Wentworth. My son, come on, move to Port Wentworth. He's gonna have kids someday, hopefully. So that's what I'm trying. I just want Port Wentworth to be the best. 95, you come out and you see Port Wentworth, you go, you know what, let's check it out. Let's have something to eat. Let's gas up and continue on. On the way back, the same way, we forgot to gas up. We come to Port Wentworth, wait a minute, there's a seafood restaurant there, let's check it out. That's what I'm talking about, because that's where I look when I go to places, looking for places to eat, places to have a good time. So that would be my plan, to represent Port Wentworth and make it grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Barbie?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. Hopefully you have made your decision on who you would support. I want to thank all the candidates for taking the time, and thank each and every one that steps up to the plate, because being in politics is not easy. Port Wentworth is my passion. And serving is what I do. I'm used to serving. I've served in the United States Air Force for 21 years. After retirement, one of the biggest things that I wanted to keep doing was serving. You've allowed me to serve for 4 years, and I have a proven track record. Not a record that we just talked about, but proven track record of growth, assessing that growth, and making sure that the services meet the needs of the growth, that we are growing as a city. The team that I work with, we have worked collaboratively with all of the players that facilitate growth. And one of the biggest ones is the chamber, because the chamber's job is to recruit new businesses to come to the city. And it should have been a smart thing a long time ago, way before I came on council, to partnership with the chamber. Like I said, I just want to thank you again. Thank you for your continued support as we move forward to make Port Wentworth, Exit 109, a destination for people to come to. Thank you for your support, and get out and vote Barbie.
Thank you, sir. District 4, Mr. Herron.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to talk fast, so please listen. We have not talked about the fact of the trains, what they do to the traffic. I still believe that they can build viaducts over the trains over 21. They're on Crossgate Road. I have seen and I have waited in line for 45 minutes to get through. This is ridiculous that we're at the mercy of the train company. Something needs to be done. You issue a ticket to them. $500 means nothing. This needs to be raised. This needs to hurt them in the pocketbook. I would like to see a city ordinance ensured that the properties in the Old Town Port Wentworth are maintained, and this would could easily become a future first home community for young couples. I would like to work with the owners of property facing State Route 25 and 17 to improve the appearance of their business and their frontal facade. It's most important. Potential care to create a historical center and the proposed park capitalizing on the past history of the area. The cotton gin developed here. Remember, we have Civil War history here. We have much history here. We do not want to lose it like we did on Grange Road. That was a hurting thing, people, when we saw those family leaves and they would not come back. That hurt very much. But we have to remember that change starts with a dream, and this is the first step in the right direction. I too want to thank you for coming and being with us, but I beg you to become a community and come together with us on Thursday evenings when we meet and express your views. Sure, we all have complaints. We have problems that we want to work out. Call the mayor at the office and he will try to see what he can get done, or call City Hall and see that this is taken care of. If not, call any of the council members. We'll be glad to do what we can. But we need to know that we have your backing. Now, I do want to mention, we do have a ladder truck. So, I'm very pleased with that. And it was basically donated to us to some extent. Thank you. God bless you.
Mr. Stevens, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Bill. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. This is not an easy, opportunity, but also I want to thank the candidates for donating their time to coming here as well, and thank you for the chamber for inviting us. What you hear tonight is people with a divergent points of view and with varying backgrounds. Port Wentworth is my home. Granted, I'm sure you can tell by the accent it's not. I can guarantee you the accent is it's a northern accent. But in all seriousness, I've been here for over 6 years. I've been in Savannah for nearly 12. This is my home, and we all have to make our home the best it can be. But as I speak, voting has already started, and some of you have already made your decisions. For those who have chosen to return me back to City Council, I humbly thank you for both your support, your validation, and confidence in me to continue to do the job for the next 4 years. But for those who haven't voted, I want to leave you with this. This election is not about me. It's not about my opponent. It's about you. And where do you want the city to be for the next 20 or 50 years? Thank you.
Mr. Norman, thank you, sir.
Thank you. As I'm not used to public speaking, I'm reading what I wrote here, so give me that. Thank you for the moderator and audience for y'all for being here tonight. Our city is a growing community, yet we still desire to know and care about it in its entirety, as we all share common interests for our future. And it's for this common future that I'm offering to serve my community, not just for tonight, but for every night and every day. Our community needs several things for all to share a common and bright future. We need continued economic growth and at a steady pace to compete with the cities around us. We need an increase in public safety staffing and presence, especially in our neighborhoods. And we need an upgraded K-2 elementary school in the downtown section of Port Wentworth. And we need a high school for our children. We have a middle school, we have an elementary school that needs to be upgraded, and we need a high school. We are growing at a large pace, and our kids are growing up, and they should be able to go to school here. We need public trust restored in our community. As city council members should be honest and fair across the board without hypocrisy and professional always. And I am prepared to work not just for my community, but for my city, as it should be. Thank you for being here tonight, and remember, I'm here for you, our citizens, always, and I hope I can count on your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's give all of them another round of applause, please. I know that I can count on all of you to vote because you're here tonight. I hope that this will be the beginning of you inspiring others who you meet to get to the polls too. It's so important for all of us to vote. We can go on and vote now or wait until Election Day on November 4th. Remember, it was Lyndon B. Johnson who said, "The vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by man for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls that imprison men because they are different from other men. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve with you. I think Ms. Tricia, you have some few words to say. Tricia Grow, please welcome her back. Thank you.
Thank you to Ms. Baker for participating tonight. We had an excellent forum, and thank you to every single one of you up here on the stage. It was a pleasure to get to know you more, and it was a pleasure to hear your thoughts and your dreams for the future of this community. So it's very exciting that you all have such enthusiasm, and I think that this is a great group, and we have nothing but great things to see in the future. Also to everyone, we just wanted to remind you, we have our upcoming festival, our 10th annual Oyster Roast Barbecue and Music Festival on November 9th. Last year we had over 3,000 people attend, so it has definitely grown from a business after hours and that first business after hours. Yes, so through our generous sponsors and our City of Port Wentworth as our presenting sponsor, once again, we're able to give free admission, free children's activities, and free entertainment. So please come out. It is a wonderful way to just meet your neighbors, meet business owners, and just it's a great fellowship event. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming this evening from the Chamber of Commerce.